Hello everyone. I'm very happy that you've come back to my channel. Today, we will follow a story that may seem very simple in everyday life, but hidden within it are many layers of deep meaning, about kindness between people, about choices that may seem small, yet can create significant change, and above all, about the unspoken things, the secrets that are quietly being revealed over time. This story begins with Tusan, a woman who is not particularly outstanding, who does not live in abundance, but carries within her a perseverance worthy of respect. Her life has no room for dependence, nor time for complaints. Each passing day is filled with very real efforts, very quiet, yet incredibly resilient. She chooses to move forward, with her own hands, with slow but steady steps, learning little things along the way, doing better in familiar tasks, and always keeping a simple belief in her heart that one day, life will smile at her. After all the events that have happened, all the difficulties she has gone through, did not break her, but instead, made her stronger day by day. She is no longer a Tieu and easily swayed by circumstances, but a woman who knows what she needs, and what she must do to achieve it. She began learning to cook, not just to prepare daily meals, but to learn seriously, meticulously, from choosing ingredients, to balancing flavors, from simple dishes, to those requiring greater skill. Each dish is a chance for her to challenge herself, a chance to improve herself. She takes care of every meal, not only out of responsibility, but also because of a dream slowly forming in her mind. She understands clearly, if one day, she can start a small business on her own, then these skills, these things she is building day by day, will become an important foundation, helping her change her current life. Her hope is not loud, not rushed, but persistent, and not easily extinguished. But then, just as everything was gradually falling into place, an unexpected incident occurred that made all her efforts seem to slow down in an instant. The amount of 17 million, all the money she had carefully saved, over more than a year, suddenly was no longer with her. It was not just a number, not just lifeless bills, but the result of many days of relentless work, of moments she reminded herself to save every little bit, of small sacrifices she accepted, to keep an opportunity for herself. That loss not only left her disappointed, but also created an emptiness within her that was hard to name. In the days that followed, Tusan continued her work, but in every action, every thought, there was a clear heaviness. The regret that could not be put into words quietly lingered, making her mood heavier. She did not blame anyone, nor did she try to blame circumstances. She only silently reflected on herself and blamed herself for a moment of carelessness. That feeling was not loud, but persistent and hard to let go, until one day, when everything seemed to have calmed down, an unexpected appearance completely changed her emotions. A woman named Hoa came to her doorstep with a simple appearance and a very sincere attitude. She gently spoke, without haste, without showing off, simply saying that she was the one who had found the 17 million that Tusan had lost earlier. At that moment, time seemed to slow down. All the thoughts in Tusan's mind seemed to pause for a second. She could hardly believe what she had just heard. Joy came unexpectedly, without warning, leaving her unprepared to receive it. Tears quietly fell, not only because the money had returned, but because of something deeper, something she may have forgotten in recent days. That was faith, in kindness, in the good people who still exist in this world. Miss Hoa could have kept that money. No one would know. No one could blame her. But she chose not to. She chose to wait, chose to search, chose to return it to the rightful owner. A choice. That seems very simple, but not everyone can make. That action not only returned money to Tusan, but also restored her faith, something sometimes far more valuable. Tusan could not hide her gratitude, not just in words of thanks, but she wanted to do something more meaningful. To show her sincerity, she personally prepared some local gifts, Things not too valuable materially, but filled with sincerity and deep appreciation. Because to her, kindness should not be taken for granted, but should be acknowledged, preserved, and spread. And from that moment, a new feeling, a new thought, began to form within her, gently, but enough to create a change for what would happen next. But few people know that, hidden deep behind that seemingly complete and warm story, there exists another truth. A truth that was never mentioned, never appeared in the telling, yet quietly existed all along. The person who actually found that money was not Miss Hoa, but Sun, Tusan's ex-husband. That coincidence happened in silence. No one witnessed it. No one knew. Only him, standing in that moment, with countless thoughts intertwining. When holding the money in his hand, Sun did not rush to leave, nor did he immediately make a decision. He stood there, looking around, as if waiting for something to happen. In his mind, there were only two clear choices: return it, or keep it. One side was what was right. The other was the reality he had to face every day. He chose to wait. Wait for a chance. Wait for the one who lost it to come back. Time passed, minute by minute, hour by hour. No one appeared. No hurried footsteps. No searching eyes. No sign at all that someone would return for that money. The prolonged silence gradually began to change his thoughts. At first, there was hope, then hesitation, and slowly, calculations. Meanwhile, Sun's life was still surrounded by pressures he could not avoid. Debts, unpaid amounts, relentless demands, moments of facing hardship. Everything kept piling up, with no sign of stopping. He understood his situation clearly, understood that without change, everything would continue falling into a dead end. And then, amid the tangled thoughts, amid the growing pressure, he made a decision. He kept the money, a decision made in silence. No one knew, no one stopped him. Only he truly understood its meaning. To make it easier to accept, he gave himself a reason, that it was a blessing from heaven, that perhaps this was an opportunity to escape his current struggles. Those thoughts, at first sounded reasonable, but were not enough to calm what was inside, because deep down, he understood clearly, it wasn't entirely right. No kind of luck comes with such heaviness. No opportunity makes a person avoid their own thoughts. A sense of guilt began to appear, not obvious, not shown outwardly, but quietly present. There were moments he tried not to think about it, kept himself busy, to forget. But the more he tried to avoid it, the clearer that feeling returned. That money helped him solve part of his difficulties. Debts were handled more quickly. External pressures temporarily eased. But that sudden change unintentionally made everything feel unusual. His mother was the first to notice. She didn't ask immediately, didn't rush to question him. She simply observed in silence. A mother who had been through many ups and downs in life was not easily convinced by something too sudden. The debts being repaid came faster than usual, with no prior sign, no clear process. Those things slowly created suspicion. Sun noticed it too. He began to explain, gave reasons, tried to make everything seem logical. But the more he spoke, the more he felt the uncertainty in his own words. His mother's gaze was not harsh, not heavy, yet full of scrutiny. A silence, without words, yet made him feel more pressured than ever, because he understood. There are things that may fool others, but are very hard to hide from someone who has always watched over you. And from that moment on, his thoughts were no longer just about a past decision, but became something else, always present, in every moment of his life. In another development, Trang, Sun's younger sister, is also stepping into a story filled with unexpected turns. Not loud, not announced, but enough to gradually change everything around her. During what seemed like a completely ordinary meeting, when Trang went out with her husband, Tone, the atmosphere remained as gentle as usual, with no sign at all that anything from the past would be stirred. Until an old acquaintance appeared and casually brought up a story from long ago. A story that was incomplete, unclear, yet enough to awaken memories that had once been forgotten. A night of drinking, an incident that happened when no one was sober enough. A strange woman who appeared and then disappeared, leaving behind almost no trace. Those fragmented details seemed unrelated, but when mentioned again, began to connect in a way that was hard to explain. Pieces of memory, once forgotten, once considered unimportant, suddenly came together, forming a picture not entirely clear, but enough to make one think. And what made the story even more sensitive was when a possibility began to emerge. The girl in that story might not have been a stranger as once believed, but perhaps was Trang herself. That coincidence, if it remained just a speculation, might have quickly been dismissed. But the more they thought about it, the more they compared details, the harder it became to ignore. If that were true, if those fragments of memory were truly connected to the present, then the relationship between Trang and Tone would no longer be as simple as before. What currently exists, what they are building together, may have to face a change, not because the present is not good, but because the past is slowly making its way in. A past that is still unclear, not yet confirmed, yet enough to create silence within their thoughts. Secrets no one chooses to speak of, yet quietly exist. Choices that may have been made long ago, but their consequences are now beginning to surface in the present. And things that have never been spoken do not mean they do not exist, only that the time to face them has not yet come. All of these elements are gradually pushing everything further, no longer confined to separate stories. Because now, the story is no longer just about lost money or an act of returning it, but about how each person faces challenges, faces choices, and faces themselves. To keep or to let go is not just a material decision, but a decision of values. Honesty or concealment does not only affect the present, but leaves lasting consequences. Every decision, big or small, carries a certain cost. It may be light, it may be silent, but it cannot be avoided. And sometimes, just a moment of hesitation, a seemingly small choice, can become the starting point of much greater changes. Thoughts begin to surface, questions without answers, little by little, changing the atmosphere around them. No one says it aloud, yet everyone can feel the presence of uncertainty. And from there, what is happening is no longer just a series of separate events, but begins to connect in ways no one can fully see yet. Each person stands before their own choice, whether it is Sun or Trang or anyone involved. And each of those choices is quietly shaping what comes next. Not rushed, not loud, but enough to create change. Things left unsaid remain there, waiting for the right moment. Secrets not yet revealed, but no longer completely hidden. Everything seems to be shifting, very slowly, but very clearly, within a flow that no one can stop. And as everything continues to move forward, what has already happened will not remain still, but will gradually unfold in its own way.
Số tiền tiết kiệm của cô để cô đưa cho Hải để cũng giúp anh ấy khó khăn. Tuy nhiên thì cô đã làm mất số tiền đó. Vậy thì liệu diễn biến tiếp theo của câu chuyện sẽ như thế nào? Tiểu San và Hải sẽ ra sao khi mà Hải đã nhờ một người khác đưa trả số tiền đấy cho cô? Còn Tiểu San thì cứ ngỡ đó là sự thật, nhưng thực ra số tiền đó thì đang được chồng của cô nhặt được. Và mối quan hệ trước kia trong quá khứ của Toàn và Trang như thế nào khi người bạn nói ra sự thật như vậy thì cả hai sẽ phản ứng ra sao, và liệu chồng cũ sẽ giữ số tiền đấy hay là sẽ trả lại, tìm người trả lại, trong khi số tiền đấy là của Tiểu San. Sự thật vẫn chưa được phanh phui. Mọi người hãy đón xem những video tiếp theo để biết thêm chi tiết ở trên kênh mình nhé. Tạm biệt mọi người, hẹn gặp lại mọi người.